to my channel, fellow crocheters. Today I have an easy and useful technique that I'm going to share with you all today called surface crochet. More specifically, we're going to talk about the surface slip stitch. If you've never heard of surface crochet before, it is an extremely useful technique when adding more detail to your crochet pieces. Essentially, they are slip stitches worked into the already existing fabric of your crocheted piece, almost as if you're drawing on your item. I first used this technique in my Valentine's Pink Anthurium pattern, and I used it to crochet the veins of the flowers and the leaves. I was going back and forth with this design if I wanted to embroider my veins or test out a new technique, and I ultimately decided with the surface slip stitch. It just gave it that little bit extra flair that I was looking for. But there are many different uses for the surface slip stitch. For example, you can use it to hide the edges of a project, giving it a cleaner finish, easily add more color or detail to a project, create different designs on your work, such as different shapes or names. I've seen people get really creative with this and create names on custom pieces for family or friends. For example, I've seen this used on Christmas stockings, and people will add the names of whoever they're gifting the stocking to or their family's names onto the stocking. You can also use this technique to add colored stripes to blankets or other crochet projects, and it can also reduce the amount of sewing needed in amigurumi. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and learn how to crochet the surface slip stitch. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate how to do the surface slip stitch. I just crocheted a swatch here that I'm going to demonstrate this technique on. I am going to use a different colored yarn so that way you can see exactly what I'm doing. And I have my crochet hook here. I am using a Clover Amour hook, size F, 3.75 millimeters for this demonstration. So first, I just wanted to mention that if you prefer, you can start with a slip knot on your hook for added security. However, I personally do not like using slip knots when I'm crocheting amigurumi, so I'm going to demonstrate this without using a slip knot, which you will see in the next steps. So with our swatch, for step 1, you will insert the hook into the work from front to back. Then, wrap the yarn around the hook. You want to make sure that you're holding the yarn and the beginning yarn tail behind the work. This is how you'll be working the stitches into your piece. Then pull a loop through your work. Like I said, make sure the starting yarn tail is to the back of your work and your working yarn is also to the back. Next, insert the hook into the next hole. Depending on the pattern or design, this may be the next stitch or row/round. We're going to insert into this next stitch here. So now we have our hook towards the back of the piece again. Then yarn over and pull the loop through your work. Next, pull this loop through the loop on your hook to form your slip stitch. And you have your first surface slip stitch. You will then continue those same steps until you have completed the desired amount of surface slip stitches. So I will go ahead and demonstrate this again. Insert your hook into the next hole, yarn over, pulling a loop through your work, then pull that same loop through the loop on your hook. Do it another time. Insert your hook into your work, yarn over, pulling a loop up through the work, and then pull that same loop through the loop on your hook. So as you can see here, we are starting to have a stripe that looks kind of like chains added to the front of our piece here. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on. That way you can see what this will look like completed. All right, once you make it to the end of where you want your surface slip stitch to end, you can go ahead and fasten off your yarn. We'll just pull the yarn through the stitch, and then you can just weave in your beginning and ending yarn tail. So this is what the top of your piece will look like. It looks like chains are almost embroidered on your piece. If you flip it over to the back, you will just have this line right here. And you can create however many stripes you want on your piece, whether you're crocheting a blanket or scarf or what have you. Now, you can also use this technique to create different shapes and designs on your piece, working into the stitches diagonally. For example, you could crochet a heart, working the stitches diagonally as you surface slip stitch. The stitches don't have to just be worked up and down or across. You can get creative and make different names or different shapes and just have fun with it. So for example, let's just say you want to crochet a heart on your piece. Let's say we'll start our heart down here at the bottom, inserting our hook from front to back. Taking our yarn, we will loop it around our hook, pulling that loop up through our piece. Then insert our hook into the next stitch or hole that you would like to work the surface slip stitch in. We're going to go slightly diagonally and yarn over. Pulling that loop through the work, then pull that same loop through the loop on your hook. You will continue using the same technique, creating your shape. Now, it may take some trial and error. You might not get the piece right the first time. It may be helpful to lightly draw on your piece exactly what shape you're trying to accomplish. It may make it easier to draw or surface slip stitch onto your piece. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and finish the heart, but you get the idea where you can, working in the stitches, you can create different shapes. So like I mentioned previously, I use this technique in my pattern, the Valentine's Pink Anthurium, so I just wanted to demonstrate really quickly how to do the surface slip stitch on one of the leaves in that pattern. So this is one of our leaves here. Following the same steps, you will insert your hook into the desired stitch from front to back. In this case, it is at the top of the leaf according to the pattern. Then wrap the yarn around the hook, pulling through your work. You see we have a loop here. Making sure the working yarn is in the back and so is the yarn tail. So when crocheting the leaves, we just have one vein from top to bottom down the piece. So we'll go ahead and work along the midline, inserting into our next stitch, yarn over, pull through our work, then pull that loop through the loop on your hook. We will continue down our piece. Continuing to go down each row. Until we reach the bottom of our leaf. All right, then we will fasten off. Pull that yarn tail through, and then we can go ahead and weave in our ends. As you can see, it's just very subtle on the back of the leaf. You can hardly really tell that we did those surface slip stitches, and then you have a nice defined little vein on the leaf. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and you found it useful, and hopefully you can apply it to your crochet projects in the future. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I did use this technique in my pattern, the Valentine's Pink Anthurium. So if you're looking for a pattern to test out this technique, I'll leave a link to the pattern PDF down below. And definitely, if you want to stay up to date on more tips and tutorials, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for future content. But I can't wait to see all that you create with this technique. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you all have a great week, and as always, happy crocheting. Bye everyone.